Hello, and thank you for attending tonight. Especially thank you to the candidates who've agreed to participate, giving you all the opportunity to determine who best represents your values and whose experience best reflects the influence you want determining justice. This is an impartial, informational forum, and there will be no endorsement. I will be your moderator tonight. My name is Toni Momberger. I am the executive editor of Follow Our Courts, which is the organizer and sponsor of tonight's event. We are a website that covers the legal industry in the Inland Empire specifically. We cover cases, we cover legislation, we cover the state of the courts. We are free. You can subscribe to us by entering your email. You will have access to all of our past and present content. And you can get regular emails. You choose the topics you want to be informed about. And you opt in and you'll get one every day with our new content, or you can just subscribe to the weekly roundups, highlight stories, or you can just not get emails and just have access to the content. We are at followourcourts.com. I would like to also thank McCune Law Group for all of our swag and our banners and our staff, and especially for funding Follow Our Courts. Tonight's format will be traditional. Each candidate will have 3 minutes for an opening statement and then get 2 minutes each for answering questions and a 2-minute closing statement. If any candidate is mentioned by other, they will get 1 minute of rebuttal time. So let's meet the candidates. We have 1 open seat in Riverside County and 19 unopposed incumbents. Because they were running unopposed, they just became officially elected on February 14th. You can see the list of all of those unopposed incumbents on Follow Our Courts, and they are all hyperlinked to their biographies. For the open seat, there are 3 candidates in Riverside County who will be on the ballot. Going in alphabetical order in this race, we have Jeffrey Kirk, Gerald Fole, and Elizabeth Tucker. Mr. Kirk has declined to participate in this event. I will invite the candidates to give an opening statement in alphabetical order, and then I will reverse the order for closing statements, and I will alternate this order with every question. So, DDA Fole, you may give your opening statement.
Thank you very much. And to everyone watching, thank you for taking the time, the consideration, and the effort to look into who you wish to elect to the bench here in Riverside County. I can tell you for me, this race is all about timing. And I say that because timing is one of the most impactful things that we're ever going to have in our lives. For me, coming to Riverside County when I was 11 years old and making this my home was a matter of amazing timing, because I got to meet a man by the name of John Davis. John Davis became a mentor to me. He became my mock trial coach in high school, and frankly, he is the reason that I became an attorney. One of the greatest compliments I received from him was that with him watching me, he saw so much of himself in the way I handled cases in his courtroom. John was a prosecutor in our county for a number of years and got elevated to the bench. Judge Davis has made the decision to retire. And in one of the most impactful conversations of my life, I had the opportunity to speak with him, to talk about our time together and what he's seen in me and my growth as an attorney over more than 16 years, and to receive his blessing to succeed him on the bench. And so now I come before a county that I love, and my neighbors, colleagues, friends, family, and seek your support as I run for this seat here in my home. As mentioned, I'm a prosecutor. I've been a Riverside County Deputy District Attorney for over 16 years. I can say that this is my home county. I've lived here for the entirety of my adult life and for a good chunk of my childhood. And as a prosecutor, I've handled some of the most terrible and complex cases the Riverside County District Attorney's Office has. For the last several years, I've been a homicide prosecutor, prosecuting multiple murder cases, special circumstance murders. And last year, I actually was the prosecutor who prosecuted the first fentanyl-induced homicide, not only in the state of California, but at the state level across the United States. I've been fortunate enough to receive the backing of the judges I've been here in front of. One of the greatest compliments you can receive is that these people who you look up to, who just mean the world, who are the embodiment of justice, tell you that they want to see you as their colleague on the bench. Likewise, my colleagues on both sides of the aisle, prosecutors, defense attorneys, and several other attorneys from other practices of law have said that I'm the type of judge they want to see. And so now I seek the timing, this moment, to run for Superior Court Judge here in Riverside County, and I thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Tucker.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth Tucker, and I would like to thank Follow Our Courts for creating this opportunity to provide information to our voters to make the decision as to who they think is best and most qualified for this judicial election. In 1995, I was recruited directly from Hastings Law School by the Riverside County Deputy District Attorney's Office, where I worked as a criminal prosecutor for 23 years for Riverside County, protecting victims and our community. As you can imagine, in 23 years, I had a variety of assignments, including prosecuting serious and violent felonies, sexual assaults, domestic violence, property crimes, juvenile adjudications, and many other assignments. But my most proud assignment was my work as a criminal prosecutor protecting the most vulnerable members of our society, our children. I was in charge of the Eastern Division's Child Abuse Vertical Prosecution Unit. This was a unit that was tasked with prosecuting physical and sexual abuse cases involving children as victims. And this was a unique assignment because I was involved with these cases from the very beginning, working hand in hand with law enforcement officers at the very initial stages of criminal investigation and staying with these children victims through the whole proceedings, through investigations, filings of charges, and the court process. I also protected our community by preventing sexually violent predators from being released back into our community, and I was recognized and awarded for my work in this unit by the Preventing Child Abuse Coachella Valley Council. In addition to my extensive trial work as a criminal prosecutor, I have experience in the collaborative court settings, finding alternative solutions to people suffering from mental health and substance abuse issues. But what makes me uniquely qualified to be your next Superior Court judge is that after 23 years of being a Riverside County Deputy DA, the judges of Riverside County vetted and selected me from over 100 applicants to be a Superior Court Commissioner. I've been a judicial officer for over 5.5 years and have actual judicial experience presiding in courtrooms such as civil, criminal, juvenile justice, juvenile dependency, probate, and traffic cases. And I look forward to sharing more information about myself. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have 7 questions tonight. I'm going to ask as many as we have time for. You've both been sent the questions in advance. So we're going to start with Commissioner Tucker. What do you believe are some of the greatest obstacles to justice, to access to justice in Riverside County?
I believe the biggest problem for access to justice is the limited resources that we have. It's no secret that Riverside County does not have enough judges or court resources to handle the number of cases that come through our courts. We've all heard the term justice delayed is justice denied, but what does that really mean? What does that look like in real life? It means our residents have to wait longer to have resolutions in their cases. Whether it's a criminal case, family law case, civil case, families are waiting way too long to get resolutions to the problems that bring them to court in the first place. It is a problem for many families to get to court, and the longer cases continue in our system creates more problems for the individuals that have to go through our system. People are missing work, missing their paychecks. There's transportation issues, childcare issues. The stress of not knowing what will happen with your case for months or over years. And the same holds true to the victims and witnesses in our cases. And this directly impacts our public safety because our law enforcement officers are being forced to sit around all day in court waiting for their cases to be heard. We're wasting taxpayer dollars having law enforcement, public defenders, deputy district attorneys, witnesses, victims, having to travel throughout all areas of our county to have their cases heard. Our taxpayer dollars are having to pay for our public servants to have to travel. Riverside County has learned how to do more with less, which is why selecting a judge who has experience is very important.
Thank you. DDA Full?
Thank you very much. One thing that I wouldn't be surprised if many potential voters did not know was that they may believe that a process like this, the election in order to have a new judge take the bench, might help solve this problem. But really, we are essentially replacing one judge for another, with the current judge retiring and with one of the candidates set to take his place. We're not seeing a net increase on the bench. Riverside County is, as mentioned, unfortunately one of the least represented counties in the state per capita when it comes to our judicial resources. And it's not just our judges. We have amazing court staff, amazing people who are doing their absolute best to keep up with the demands of our courts. And that is across civil, criminal, family. It is across the wide spectrum of justice that we seek to provide for the citizens of Riverside County. Because when people want to recoup their money, recoup something of value in a civil case, they don't want to see their case sitting around for a number of years because the criminal courts have taken precedence because of the backlog that is overwhelming. When people are going through divorce proceedings in family law, they want to know that it's going to be done in an orderly and expedient fashion where justice is done, because justice has a wide range of meanings. It is making sure that there is balance and righteousness in what is being done. So with that, we need to make sure that not only are we seeking solutions for expanded resources, but with the people we have, the resources we have, as mentioned, doing more with less. At that point, we are making sure that we are running our courtrooms efficiently, that we're running them with knowledge, with preparation, and making sure that every person is ready.
Thank you. Okay, we'll start with you this time, DDA Full. What element of your background or experience will be most significant in making you a fair judge?
I believe I come in with experience and not arrogance. One of the most special moments during this entire process was the night that I announced to friends and family that I'd be taking this undertaking. And I received a message from a supervisor with the Public Defender's Office. And she said, I'm 110% team full. I know that you're going to make a difference. And that is something I will never forget. Because it's one thing to come in with a belief on who you are and what you've done. But when you start hearing it from your colleagues, from people that you respect, and you can take that honest moment to look in the mirror and to say, I can do this. I'm worthy of this spot. That is something special. The number of people in this process who have spoken with, who I have respected for years, speaking with Virginia Blumenthal, an amazingly respected attorney here, someone who was a coach against a competing mock trial team back when I was in high school. And the fact that she said I have her support. The fact that my boss, Mike Hestern, that I could go to him and say, I'm considering doing this. And he says, you have my support. And again, colleagues across the aisle, that in a year where I was named the Southwest Riverside County Bar Association Attorney of the Year, that the people who know me know that I'm going to come in prepared, that they know I have the acumen to not be right because I'm final, but instead to make sure that I put in the work, that every person who comes in that courtroom is going to know that they had the best day in court possible. And I understand how weird that sounds, the best day in court, because everyone who comes into court quite literally and potentially is dealing with one of the worst days in their life. But when a judge is the embodiment of justice and they see that person up there, they need to know that that person is doing all they can to make this a community based in law and based in right. And so with the work I've done, with the research I've put in, the painstaking attention to detail, I know that all these things and the support that I've received from these amazing people have given me that confidence to know I'm the right person for this job.
Thank you, Commissioner Tucker.
The question was background and experience making you a fair judge, correct?
That's the question.
All right, thank you. Judges make decisions every day that affect people's lives, their children's lives, their rights, their money, the way they are able to live their life. And being able to make a fair and just decision, a judge needs to have experience in order to keep an open mind when receiving information in making their decisions. Requires more than just professional experience, which of course that's needed. Judges need to be competent in the law. And after 23 years as a criminal prosecutor and 5.5 years as a judicial officer, I certainly have the professional experience that's required for a judge to be fair. Prosecutors are tasked with evaluating cases to make sure that people are being charged where we have the evidence to prove their guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. But in addition to professional experience, I have life experience. And life experience is important to be a well-rounded judge. People come into court from all walks of life, different backgrounds, different experiences. Real families have real problems. And my life experiences make me well situated to be a fair judge. I've already raised my children in Riverside County. I know many of the struggles that families face when raising kids. I have a close family member with a serious mental health condition. I know what it's like for a family to have to deal with someone that may not want to take their medication. And I know what the inside of a mental health hospital looks like. I've also been through the family program at the Betty Ford Center, supporting a family member with an addiction issue, and that makes me well positioned to be a fair judge.
Thank you. Just for the audience's benefit, we have papers going up to let them know when there's 30 seconds left or when there's a minute left. And I know it's distracting, and I just want you all to know what the wrestling is and why they keep looking over that way. So the next question, we will start with you, Commissioner Tucker, and that is to name a change to our judicial system that is needed or explain why none is needed.
Yes. I think a change that is needed in our judicial system, in addition to the access to justice, but is providing more resources for self-help. So many times people come into a courtroom and they cannot afford to hire an attorney. And depending on what kind of law they may be involved in, they may not be entitled to have an attorney. When I presided over traffic court, many people set their cases for trial and then would ask me as the judicial officer, well, how can I get these records? What can I do to subpoena something? And obviously, as a judicial officer, you're prohibited from giving any sort of legal advice. We need more self-help centers with real people to manage them, to give advice to individuals. The courts are public servants. We serve the public, and we need to create more resources to better serve the public. Not only self-help, but access to court, more court times. Again, people's hearings, sometimes we can only offer a certain day, a certain morning or afternoon to have a court hearing, and that doesn't always work for individuals. So we need to recognize that the need is to serve the public and create more resources in order to do that.
Thank you. DDA Full.
Thank you. One thing that was noteworthy coming into the COVID pandemic is that the courts were tasked with making monumental changes. In many institutions, there's the idea that if it's not broke, you don't need to fix it. But when we saw social distancing, when we saw people literally not be allowed into courtrooms, we saw incredible change towards more virtual appearances. We saw changes to virtual appearances and more leniency in, at least in the criminal realm, on 977 appearances where defense attorneys could appear on behalf of their clients. We also saw an increase in live streaming of courtroom proceedings, where people who could be on the other side of the country or in a home right next to the courthouse, they could be listening to the events, because the idea is that courtrooms are open to the public. This courtroom is a center of justice that needs to be seen, and people need to know that there's nothing going on behind closed doors. Now, as we moved away from the COVID pandemic, we've seen a bit of a return to the old ways. But what did we see when we had virtual appearances? We saw people who were able to quite literally get out of the courtroom quicker and get back to work, that they were able to avoid taking off work and seeing financial hardship. So we need to evolve with the times. And for a split second, we had that moment where we were in a position to do that. Likewise, as we evolve in our calendar management, making sure that we, in all facets, again, across criminal, civil, and family law, that we are instituting these technologies and these abilities to make sure that we give access to everyone seeking justice.
Thank you, DDA Full. How would you serve the court beyond case management?
Beyond case management, I think that one of the most important things, as mentioned earlier, is that when a person comes into that courthouse, they need to see the judge who's handling that courtroom and feel like they got their fair day in court, that they had the ability to see the embodiment of justice, and that they walk away with trust in our system. I think that is the goal of any judge, that when they do the right thing and they do it for the right reasons. So I think that that is a very important quality, and one that we need to see in our judges, that they are the embodiment of what is right and what we want to see from our judicial staff. Beyond that, I think an incredible opportunity is mentorship, and that goes not just to other judges, it goes to attorneys, such as in Inns of Court programs, where you actually learn amongst attorneys and judges from different professions, age groups, and alike. And then with our kids, I can think of the time growing up where the very first career day where I said I wanted to be a judge someday, because that was my idea of what the embodiment of justice is. And I've had the opportunity to bring young people into courtrooms. A neighbor who's a military family, their daughter didn't quite know yet what she wanted to do with her life. And the idea of bringing her into a judge down at the Southwest Justice Center, who I incredibly respect, and the fact that she got to meet him, go in the chambers, even put on the robe, she now knows exactly what she wants to do. So we have an obligation as a potential and hopeful member of the bench to be a mentor, to be a member of the community, to let people know that these are not just people who sit on who sit up there with their robe and don't think of what's going on, but are real people who are committed to the best interests of this community.
Thank you. Commissioner Tucker.
Thank you. One area where I am uniquely well situated to serve the courts beyond case management is to provide much needed leadership in our courts. Riverside County has a very young bench. Almost 60% of our current judges have less than 7 years of experience. And of the other judges with 10 or more years of experience, many of them have already served in leadership positions or are set to retire within a time frame that doesn't lead themselves to become leaders in the court. Our current presiding judge, Judge Clark, recognized this looming problem and possessed the foresight to create the brand new Riverside County Court Leadership Symposium. I will be attending that symposium. That symposium will cover topics such as principles in leadership, budget, court structure, and other topics and issues that will directly prepare me to take on a leadership position when the court need arises. If I win this election, when I am sworn in, I will have over 6 years of actual judicial experience, in addition to experience over both areas of juvenile law, juvenile justice, and juvenile dependency. I have experience in many other areas of law. And my experience as a criminal prosecutor, prosecuting juvenile cases, but also handling juvenile diversion cases, working with the schools for attendance issues, and my leadership positions in Rotary. I'm a past president and a Girl Scout leader, makes me uniquely qualified to provide leadership for the courts when the need arises.
Thank you. So Riverside Superior Court has a serious case backlog. If elected, how would you ensure your courtroom runs efficiently enough to handle your share?
Thank you. I would continue doing what I've been doing for the past 5.5 years, running efficient and effective courtrooms. When I was assigned to preside over the misdemeanor calendar court in March of 2022, we were at the height of our backlog, averaging cases of 200 a day. After 1.5 years of actively managing that courtroom, I had dropped that number in half. So how was that done? It was done by myself providing leadership, structure, and expectations in my courtroom. I would take the bench promptly at 8:30 and be prepared to call every case that was on my calendar. I would create expectations for everyone else as well. So the attorneys, litigants, and even my court staff knew that they needed to be in court at 8:30 and ready to go. I would take timed breaks, literally setting a timer on my phone for 15 minutes and come back taking the bench promptly after 15 minutes. Sometimes I'd be the only one in the courtroom, but soon people started being consistent with those routines. They got into step and were ready to get back to work promptly after 15 minutes. And I cut down on continuances that were happening in my courtroom. Our prosecutors and defense attorneys have very busy caseloads, and so it's understandable that they want to continue cases. But I held those attorneys accountable, often probing deeper into the reasons why they were requesting continuances and only allowing so many take place, and encouraging dialogue between the parties to help reach resolution when that could happen. Taking a proactive and leadership role as a judge is absolutely critical in handling our large calendars.
Thank you. DDA Fall.
Thank you very much. So one thing that many people might not know is the multifaceted approach that we have, specifically when we're talking about criminal justice cases. The vast majority of cases are going to spend their lifetime in what's called the calendar department. Now, what a calendar department is where the arraignment will happen, where settlement conferences or readiness conferences. And again, the vast majority of cases are going to spend their entire life in this department. And this is where we're going to see the most significant bottleneck, where we're going to see the most significant need to move cases. And so some of the steps that are going to be necessary are an individualized assessment and attention to detail. The judge needs to be prepared not just to walk in and see a docket and to see cases on a piece of paper and then try and figure out what's going on. But again, the attention to the life of the case, what is needed, and what in the individualized assessment needs to be done in order to effectively see justice. And that's justice for all parties. That's justice for the defendant, for the victim, for the family members, for everyone involved, because we need to make sure that fairness and the ethical practice of law and enforcement of law is paramount. Now, as mentioned, the vast majority of cases are not going to get to a trial department, but in trial departments, where in Riverside County we've seen our greatest need, where we've had cases that have been set for trial and then unable to find a home, we need to make sure that we are running full calendar days, where we're starting as early as possible, respecting jurors' time when they are there, making sure everyone comes in prepared, and putting that schedule to the greatest use to make sure that we can get these trials done and the next one into the courtroom.
Thank you. We've got 2 questions left. I think we've got time. I think we're doing great. So what characteristics, DDA Full, what characteristics make a good judge, and how do you embody those characteristics?
Fairness, ethics, compassion, and intelligence. I think we could go through a long list of the traits, the values, the needs that a judge would have. I think that every attorney who comes into the profession of law looks at a judge as this magnificent figure. And if you don't, you pick the wrong line of work. The respect that I think any good attorney pays to a judge is something that you learn on that first day that you get to actually go past the bar after passing the bar. But really, what I think as a judge is there's only so long that that reputation or view, at some point you have to make sure that you are the embodiment of all those traits, that people can look to you and know that they're coming into a court where they are going to be treated with fairness, with compassion and kindness. I think that we all know the judges that we've had in our career where you walk in and you're actually nervous, you're actually scared to walk into that courtroom because of how they're going to treat their people in there. That is not going to be me. I think that every person who's ever worked with me has said the same thing, that they know that I have the temperament, the intelligence, and the personality that is perfect for that job. And I've heard that from judges on the bench so many times during this process, and it has been humbling because to be able to look in the mirror and to say, I can do this is an incredible thing. And so also knowing that throughout the course of my career as a district attorney, I have never once shied away from doing the work needed, not just to do my cases, but to make sure that they were done right and ethically. And if we were wrong, to make sure I can make that wrong righted. So all those things are the things that we're going to want from a judge, for the people to trust our judicial system. And I can promise you, that is me.
Thank you. Commissioner Tucker.
Thank you. Obviously, some objective qualities that make a good judge: intelligence, knowledge of the law and procedures, hardworking, ethical. But I think what is crucial to being a good judge is one's judicial temperament and individual personality. Foremost, humility, knowing that you don't need to know everything, being willing to listen to everyone that might have something to say in your courtroom, regardless of how they look, their background, what they may have been accused of doing, and being open to changing your mind. You may think you know how something should be decided, and then receiving additional information and being open to that ability to change your mind when it is the right thing to do. The ability to hear people. I've often spoken with people that they say, I've gone to court and it didn't seem like the judge was even paying attention to me. Listening to people. People need to trust that their judicial officers are actually taking into consideration what they have to say. People are nervous when they come to court, and I have a very warm, open demeanor, and I have a calming effect on people. I share with people that we're just human beings. We are just talking in a courtroom. So I gain people's trust so that then when they leave my courtroom, they feel like they've had the opportunity, not just the opportunity to be heard, but that the judge has actually listened to them and considered everything when making a decision. That's crucial to being a fair and good judge.
Thank you. This is every candidate's favorite question of the whole lot. Our final question, Commissioner Tucker, you're going to go first. What charity or volunteer organizations do you affiliate with?
Thank you. I'm a proud member of the Indio Rotary Club. Rotary is an international service organization. Our motto is service above self, and it works well with what I've chosen to do with my life, which is to be a public servant. In my Rotary Club, I've been a president of that club. I've been entrusted with being a treasurer, secretary, and foundation chair. I've done good community work throughout my area, and we actually do community work throughout the world for over 12 years. I've also been doing volunteer work with my daughter through National Charity League. In that capacity, we volunteered at Coachella Valley Rescue Mission, Martha's Village and Kitchen. I volunteered at Mama's House, which is a place where single moms can have a safe place to continue their pregnancy and live with their children. Coachella Valley Horse Rescue, Living Desert. I'm also a Girl Scout troop leader, and I've been volunteering with the Riverside County mock trial program since 1996. I started as a mock trial coach and coached for years. I've continued serving in that program as a scoring attorney and actually had the opportunity to preside over a mock trial competition. One of the greatest thrills is seeing some of the students that I've actually coached in mock trial go on to law school and actually appear in front of me. And this year, I had the honor of coaching a mock trial team side by side with one of my students that I coached years ago in mock trial, who went on to become a lawyer himself. I've also been a youth mentor for many organizations in the Coachella Valley, including Women Leaders Forum, Youth in Government, and Youth Court.
Thank you. All right, DVA Full, take us home.
As mentioned, I have been a proud participant in the Riverside County mock trial program. This was a program that I started in as a student. I competed in all 4 years of mock trial, and I was hooked. It was what, under the guidance of John Davis, the judge who's retiring, it made me want to be an attorney. And so that is why I went to law school. That was what made me know that I was going to be a trial attorney. Upon graduating from law school and getting a job here, one of the very first things I did was contacted my alma mater and asked if I could coach mock trial for them. And I got to work alongside my mentor and some great friends. I was very fortunate and very lucky that our first year coaching, we got to take a team to the county championship one and then go to state. And then for the next 16 years, putting blood, sweat, and tears into every team. And that program is amazing because you're going to meet the best kids that you'll ever have the chance to meet. And not only that, they are going to make your life better and the lives better of everyone around them. I was very fortunate to, in my first year coaching, have a student who ended up graduating from undergrad, went to law school, and then joined the Riverside County District Attorney's Office, and she credits me. As I think about the relationship that John had on me, thinking that I've done that for many other people, has been amazing. I've also been involved in the Youth Court program, which is a fantastic program that gives minors the ability to avoid anything on their record and go through a program where their fellow kids are their jury of their peers, and they get to listen to their cases and help effectuate positive change in their life. I know we could go on, but these are just two programs that mean the absolute world to me.
Thank you. All right, we got 4 minutes left of this forum. Commissioner Tucker, you have 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Thank you. Experience matters, and Riverside County deserves to have the best, most qualified, and experienced person elected to be their next Superior Court judge. Riverside County deserves to have an individual that can hit the ground running from day one. If I am elected as a Riverside County judge, our taxpayers will not have to pay for me to be trained as a judge. As a Superior Court Commissioner, I've attended all of the required judicial officer training that is required by our state, including new judges orientation, judicial college, and many primary assignments trainings. I'm a member of the California Judges Association and have experience presiding over many different areas of law, of course criminal, but our courts have so much more: civil, family law, probate, juvenile, and I'm well experienced in all of these areas. And I have the courtroom experience from being a Riverside County Deputy District Attorney for 23 years, fighting hard to protect our residents and victims, and especially our children. In 2018, the judges of Riverside County chose me to do the job of a judicial officer vetting me and selecting me to be a Superior Court Commissioner, and they continue to endorse and support that decision. I have the endorsement of the presiding judge, assistant presiding judge, past presiding judges, and the majority of the Riverside County bench. In addition, I'm endorsed by prosecutors, public defenders, law enforcement officers, probation officers, mental health professionals, social workers, educators, and community leaders. That's why I'm the best choice. Thank you.
Thank you. DDA Folk.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, you'll know that when I'm in the courtroom as a judge, you are seeing a judge who has the temperament, acumen, and intelligence needed to make sure that justice is done. For over 16 years, I have had the absolute privilege of serving this community as a deputy district attorney. And in that time, I have prosecuted more than 60 jury trials. And those jury trials have included child molestation cases and murder. Some of the most complex, serious cases have been tried in Riverside County courtrooms by me. And that's important because when you have a judge who is listening, who is deciding, and who is making rulings in these cases, you want someone who's been there before, someone who has been trained and is knowledgeable in the law, the evidence code, in every single facet of this undertaking in order to make sure that the right decision is made. Not a decision that's made for any purpose, bias, or agenda, but the right decision under the law. And I can assure you, based on my experience, that is me. I've had the absolute pleasure in this process to have been endorsed by the judges who I respect beyond words, judges from all over this county who I've appeared in front of and who've seen the work I've done, and they have said, you are the type of person we want on the bench. As mentioned, my colleagues on both sides, they have seen through my work, through the effort I put in and the fairness that I've exuded, that they are the type of person that they want to appear in front of. And now I turn to you, as you have the chance to pick the next Riverside County judge. And I ask you to do your research, to look at the list of endorsements, and to vote for Gerald Full for Riverside County Superior Court Judge.
Thank you. Thank you also to follow our courts reporter Aidan McGloin for leading the team that chose the questions. Thank you to all who spent the time to make sure your vote is informed. And please follow the judicial race on March 5th throughout the night. The numbers on followourcourts.com will be up to date. Thank you and good night.